What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It is Monday, December 23rd. Merry Christmas week. I can't believe it's going to be
Yeah.
Christmas. It's wild.
Yeah, it snuck right on up there. It seemed like, okay, it's kind of far away. And then it's Christmas Eve.
Pretty crazy. Nonetheless, I don't think Christmas Eve sneaking up on us is as crazy as our beloved Vikings, Adam. They are 13-2. Doubling their projected win totals from Vegas earlier this year at six and a
Wild.
half. So we certainly have a lot to talk about. This is episode 590 of the Purple Peel podcast, and we are reviewing Week 16 at Seattle. And what a game this was. Skull, Andrew, how are you? Thank you for joining us as always. Andrew is one of our regulars. We appreciate you very, very much. Merry Christmas. So let's hop right into it, man. The Vikings haven't won in Seattle since, if I believe the graphic was right, 2006.
It's been a long time.
It's almost 20 years. It's kind of weird. I know the Vikings have had great success against the Texans. I don't think they've ever lost to that franchise at all, home or away. In recent years, they've struggled mightily in Cincinnati, and San Francisco has struggled in Minnesota mightily. So it's fun, these little nerdy quirks that some of these teams have with each other, where it's a lot harder for teams to win in certain places for whatever reason. The Vikings had a hard time winning in Seattle forever because of Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, and the Legion of Boom. I remember those years vividly. It felt like we played in Seattle every year for like 8 years in a row, and we lost all of those. And as fans, you would get frustrated because, okay, well, there's another loss to Vikings West in Seattle. So
Right.
glad that they finally avenged it. They won 27-24. Tight game, tough opponent, but this could be a potential playoff matchup in a few weeks. So it's nice to know that they can get it done.
You follow John Randall on pretty much every social media, right?
I do.
Did you see the post that he had of him standing there in his Vikings jersey looking in the mirror, and it's him in his Seahawks jersey?
It's like I'm conflicted. I'm like, there's nothing to be conflicted about. You played 2 years in Seattle and you played like 10 for Minnesota, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah, you can't bad talk him.
No,
Well, you
of
could,
course not.
but you probably shouldn't. But I always thought it was weird during that time because a lot of players were making that jump, and to have someone with his caliber do that was kind of wild.
Yeah, this game certainly could have swung either way. I did see a couple of fans on Twitter upset about a few calls. If we're being honest, the reffing in this game was it was there. I'll say that there were referees there. I don't really know the extent of which way you'd like to lean. I know there were a lot more penalties than I wanted for my liking.
I didn't feel the officiating was that questionable. I did see a lot of people really not like that taunting call against Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That's really hilarious. Kevin O'Connell was asked about it in the post-game presser, so we can certainly discuss that, but it's tradition around here. Kyle West is out. We will see you maybe next week. I hope so. He's busy at the moment, so we'll talk to him later. Leave all of your nasty comments for him, asking him why he hates us and he doesn't want to be here anymore. Jokes, of course. But before we get into the stats and all that, let's go over what we usually do in this game, like we do every week. We have game balls and donkeys to give away. And Adam, I will let you go first because I am not prepared for my game ball. I am prepared for my donkey, but I digress. Go ahead.
So I will go with the players that are most out there that people wouldn't really think of. And my game ball is going to go to Ryan Wright, the punter. Get him a game ball. 6 punts, 300 yards on those punts. Almost no returns. He either angled them out of bounds or just absolutely boomed them, and the coverage team was doing a fantastic job. I don't remember which wide receiver was it that they even praised during the broadcast. Was it Trent Sherfield?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, because he was like glue on those guys. Once that ball touched them, he was there. And I just had a great time watching that field position game make a difference there. Even though Seattle was moving the ball pretty well at times, the field position that Ryan Wright was giving Minnesota was amazing.
It's funny you say that. I'm proud that we saw the same thing because I did text West yesterday during the game. By the way, I called the interception at the end of the game. I have receipts. I have timestamps. It was so much fun. Defense really stepped up in a big way. But yeah, I said Ryan Wright might get my game ball. Holy crap! Hell of a day for the punter. Hell of a day for special teams in general. But I'm not gonna say off script, but I just thought it was cool, and it was cool enough for the team to acknowledge yesterday. I'm giving my game ball to Kevin O'Connell for being the first Vikings head coach to ever have multiple 13-win seasons. It's a hell of an accomplishment, and what I consider, and I'm biased, you're biased, but in a franchise that has a good history, a rich history, although they haven't won a Super Bowl, they are among one of the top winning teams ever in this league. To never have that happen is pretty crazy, and he's only in year 3. Makes you question what direction last year would have gone had Kirk Cousins stayed healthy. But very excited. Every time he puts up a post-game speech, I want to run through a brick wall for him. He's so
And
much
this is a
fun.
franchise that had Bud Grant, one of the best coaches of all time.
Correct. All the Super Bowl appearances were with Bud Grant, if I remember correctly. So not to have that, and I get it. There was only a 14-game season at that time, so it's tough to essentially go undefeated or only one loss. But to not have 2 of those and to have them immediately in your first 3 seasons, that's pretty great. So I love this guy. You can tell, I can see some of the boomers in the comments. They don't like him because Twitter was making fun of Kevin O'Connell yesterday because he gave out 6 game balls, and there was
Right.
people like, "Oh, well, everybody gets a game ball." And it's like, God forbid the head coach support his players. We saw what happened the last time a coach was here and didn't support all of his players. How did that work out? But I'm not
He
going to
does
get
like to
into
spread them out too, like between the offense, the defense, special teams. He tries to spread them out so they don't all seem focused in one area. Let's be honest, Zimmer's focus was kind of a little bit focused on the defensive side of things always. So
slightly one-sided, 51-49.
right.
That's what we'll say. Dat man says, let's go for 13 wins. I'm excited about the future, too, and we'll dabble in
He's
that.
also got a question for you down there.
Oh, yeah. So Instagram targeted me with this. I don't know if it's 47 or if it's New Era. I believe it's a New Era hat, if I can look to the side. Yeah, New Era targeted me with this on Instagram. So I'd never seen it before, but really and truthfully, most of my hats are usually black or darker colored. So the lighter colored Viking hat with this purple plaid bandana type print, that's what sold me. And then I thought, well, that's kind of cool. The inside joke that I had for this one is, when the American flag is upside down, that means the country's under duress. Being a Vikings fan, I'm always under duress because they stress me the hell out. I just made that up thinking I was being funny.
Into that 4th quarter, I was feeling a little stressful. I was wondering if I was going to take a little bit extra blood pressure medication.
There's only
I
been
thought
2
this one was going
games.
to come down a little bit worse there.
Yeah, there's only been 2 games this year for me where I really thought that they kind of just ran away with it and it was smooth. So, yeah, this was another one that came down to the wire, especially when they didn't get the first down to seal the game. You're like, well, the defense has got to come up. So, but anyways,
So
I'm
what
going
other
on.
players would you have considered for a game ball here?
Obviously,
Justin Jefferson was an easy one.
yeah,
Sam
him.
Darnold's an easy one.
Sam Darnold's an easy one. Really and truthfully, defense. I think if I had to pick a player, I'd probably go Andrew Van Ginkel.
Andrew Van Ginkel.
I
Dallas
really-
Turner with that one great play.
Yeah, he finally got himself an interception as an outside linebacker. That's fun.
And he got to do it while playing off the ball. Like, he wasn't rushing the quarterback, which, for a rookie, that's kind of a big transition, a big change for him. That's
Isn't
something
it-
that when you transition from the college game to the NFL game, that a lot of players can't get a handle of. So I was glad to see that happen for him.
Isn't it funny, Adam? Because you and I both know, paying attention to the team, we kind of know a little more than the average media person or casual fan out there. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time this year, and people were like, "Oh, Dallas Turner sucks. He's not even on the field." It's like,
Right.
Have you seen the All Pros that are in front of him? This is arguably one of the best free agent periods this team has ever had. And of course, I'm not putting him out there over Jonathan Bernard or Van Ginkel, and rightfully so. He'll learn from these guys, but he's in a very good room. I'm glad that he got it. But I would have picked Andrew Van Ginkel for a player because 2 sacks in the game, and then it put him for over 10 for the year. The double-digit sacks mean everything to these pass rushers. It's a benchmark. Yeah, there's an extra game in the season, and maybe it should be up a little bit, but having that under his belt, Jonathan Gennard's already having an all-pro season. We've established that, but to see him opposite getting the love and the stats to match it up, Andrew Van Ginkel's been a wrecking ball this year for this team. So,
And Grenard might not be like swimming in sacks, but it's just the pressures that you're not seeing on the stat book. He's getting close.
correct.
He's impacting plays. It might not show up in the stat book, but he's doing it. I also do want to give a little bit of a shout out to Will Reichert. We could easily have considered him for a game ball too.
Yeah, knock on wood, he hasn't been a liability this year, so I'm so pumped that they took him, man. And, that comes with the territory when you're the all-time leading scorer in college history. Okay. He's been in these high-pressured situations being at Bama, but it's a little
So
different
before
than
Will
NFL.
Reichert went on IR, he was trying to kick field goals with a strained muscle in his leg. I strained a muscle in my leg 2 weeks ago, and I am still hopping around, barely doing normal things, so I don't know how these people do what they do. Speaking of that, though, I do want to talk about the grittiness of Sam Darnold as well. He took a pretty big hit there, and he could have easily went to the sideline and tried to rest his leg, and instead he went out there and threw an absolute dot of a touchdown to Justin Jefferson that was probably the game changer right there.
Joe Burrow gets all the love this weekend, throwing a touchdown from basically his knee because he was down, and they should have reversed that touchdown. But I thought this was the most impressive touchdown throw of the weekend. Sam Darnold has a very unique knack in the pocket to step up. I'm going to compare him to a name here. I'm not saying that Sam Darnold is this guy, but I do remember out of my whole football watching life as a fan, the one person, and it's one of the many traits that made him the GOAT, is watching Tom Brady climb the pocket. He was second to none as far as a pocket quarterback staying in the fire, but working his way up to the front level. When it got really muddy in the back after you do a drop back. And I've seen Sam Darnold do that time and time again this season because he is a little more athletic than Kirk Cousins, who we had for 6 years previously. I didn't think that was going to be a touchdown. I thought it was going to be a lob outside the numbers.
There were two defenders on Justin Jefferson. That shouldn't have even gotten through.
Correct. And to the fact that it went through, and Jefferson just kind of did a 180 into the end zone. There's a special connection there, and we'll get into it a little later because I have real opinions on the Sam Darnold thing.
Did you see Justin Jefferson saying that this team felt like his old LSU team?
Yeah.
Which is
That's high
weird
praise.
because we were talking about Joe Burrow and some of those other guys. Jamar Chase having an amazing season.
Correct.
That team was so special, with so much talent, and for him to say this has that same kind of feel, wow.
Yeah, that should tell you the caliber, because I think arguably that's the best college football team there ever was, and it should be because you had about 7 professional players playing college at that time. But yeah, I have to put it into perspective too. We were just mentioning Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's kind of sad that the MVP will only go to a quarterback these days because Saquon Barkley's having a stupid good year for a running back.
Oh, yeah.
And then also Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow won't even be in the conversation to get votes because their team's not doing well. I don't think that should discredit the individual player for playing as good as they are. It's not their fault that their coach and GM and owner can't draft a better team. They don't make those decisions. Joe Burrow's touchdown numbers this year to be on a losing team are absolutely absurd. And the Bengals are absolutely stupid for not signing Jamar Chase. He just became about $10 million more expensive per year than he would have
his
been.
price tag just skyrocketed.
He's going to get paid more per year than Justin Jefferson, and he's earned every dollar because that's what happens when you gamble on yourself. And I feel like there was a motive. They had a sit down at some point before the season, and he said, I'm ready to go to war, and I'm ready to get this paycheck for you if you're ready to earn it. And I think they both had that agreement. They're really good friends anyways, but it just needs to be said because you brought them up. It sucks for the Bengals because they had that glory run a few years ago, and they've kind of been scratching and clawing to get back to any resemblance of that. Make no mistake about it, if their record was better, if they were the Houston Texans and they were 9-6, he'd absolutely be in conversation for the MVP. But they're not. So.
And I think the franchise tag for Darnold at this point, they're talking about in chat there, I think that's around $40 million, and I've seen several people throw that around for Sam Darnold next year, and I am getting less and less opposed to bringing him back with every week that goes. A couple weeks ago on here, I even said 0% chance I'd bring him back, and boy, I am eating those words right now.
Well, I mean, we're here. I wanted to wait for that for later. We'll finish the donkeys right after this. But I'm for it because the gamble is you hope JJ McCarthy is this or more. And I don't know that JJ McCarthy will be this at all. I'm not saying that he won't or he can't, but I have a person right in front of me who's shown me I can do this. And there's not a lot of drop off from a number 3 to a number 10 draft pick. I do believe JJ McCarthy is special. I do believe he learned something great under Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and I know Kevin O'Connell would take him under his wing. But I also, I on record for saying this on this show, I was never in favor of starting McCarthy this year, anyways. I'm glad that they went with Darnold, even though they kind of had to. I don't see anything wrong with him fully recovering, making sure that knee is good, and doing 2 year. I don't think you go into the 3-4 year range unless they win the Super Bowl. Then you can sign him for a 5 year. I don't give a shit after that. Sign him a 5 year deal if you want to. But I am all for the franchise tag for one because I know it works with Kevin O'Connell. He's a former number 3 overall draft pick. I can see it. It works. Whatever Kevin O'Connell's doing, the formula is there to unlock whatever needed to be unlocked. And two, if he takes a franchise tag or it's around the 40 to 42 range, that's cheaper than some of the deals that might be offered to him from teams that he probably knows aren't going to be as good as the Vikings. I think Sam Darnold absolutely will take a slight discount, not a lot, but a slight discount because he knows it works here and he loves this coaching staff. And let's be real, $40 million a year, that's not being slighted. That's a lot of money.
And when you take 40 to go to Minnesota or 42 to go to the Giants, that's not even a question.
That's not a question at all. I don't think that he would want to go to the Saints. I'm not sure the Raiders would be a good fit. They don't have a lot of weapons, but the main thing is coaching. When you have a cell of Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Kevin O'Connell, and then this defense that they have, I'm hard pressed to find any other team that's going to be available with the cap space that needs a quarterback. And I understand Sam has a lot going for him. He's only 27. He's in his prime right now, in the thick of his prime. But I just think the fit makes too much sense now. Colin Cowherd is all over this. You know, Colin Cowherd's been a Sam Darnold guy since day one. And he said, you know, it only took me a few extra years, but I was damn right. And he goes, if I'm Minnesota, I don't know how you let him walk out the door. And I'm in full agreement now. Where I push back a little bit is I don't think any quarterback now should take a Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott deal. I think that straps the team a little bit. But I think if you commit to Sam 2 years, $80 million, or maybe up to 85 guaranteed, 42 and a half a year, dude, I would take that deal all day long because I know for a fact I have a kid who's been in the system at least a year that the team loves, and he loves the team. And we still haven't even brought up the name Daniel Jones. I don't know where he'll be next year. But you have a good quarterback room, but it's really working right now. Obviously, if he goes into the playoffs, let's say they're a wild card just for average purposes, because they do have a tough stretch these next 2 weeks to get to the 1 seed. But let's say they end up the 5 seed and they get bounced in the wild card, and he looks like, you know, week 6 version of himself, or 7 against the Rams. I can't really say that. Let's say that, what was it, week 8 or 9 when he, against the Jaguars, where he looked pretty bad. 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, he looks like crap. Okay, you can have a conversation, but I think over the course of the season, he's kind of laid it out like, I can be this good in this system. I don't think he's going to find that anywhere else, and I think it would be hard-pressed to be like, well, let's take a gamble on J.J. McCarthy. You know, like, at this point in time, I don't see how the Vikings can just completely say no, but... Well, I think we're a little ahead of ourselves to talk about that right now. We've got 2 games in the season left, and let's see what the postseason brings. What we need to see from this team is a postseason win. At least one. Would love to see more and see if they can go the whole way. But it feels special, man. This year feels really special. I'm having to make excuses for not giving a Sam a 2 to 3 year offer. Yeah, of course. It's getting tougher and tougher each week.
So we had Donkey there in the chat for Blake Cashman, which I haven't noticed him being that terrible. I mean, he hasn't stood out in a positive way, but I haven't seen a lot of bad things going on with him, which is why my Donkey is going to a player that just got absolutely pushed around, and he was even in my losers article that came out this morning. Garrett Bradbury, when he goes up against a big, strong defensive tackle, he can't do much of anything. Reed and Murphy both pushed him around real bad. I believe with Pro Football Focus, his passer rating was in the 20s, his pass protection rating, and that's not what you want to see.
So that's the interesting thing about the Vikings. I'm clicking on your article. I looked on my phone earlier, but I'm clicking on your article again to help you get some numbers, Adam. Here for the Viking Age. Go check out Adam's work over there. The Vikings are in a particular spot because I think the interior of the offensive line is the weak point. I think they've done a really good job at patchworking after Darisaw got done. I think Cam Robinson is an excellent player in his own right. He's not Christian Darisaw, but he's doing a great job filling in for this one-year rental. I think we all agree on the show the interior of the offensive line is the weakness. They get the job done. They're a Honda Civic. They'll get you from A to B, but it's not the best in comparison to others out there. I think corner is going to be a really tough situation. I think Cameron Bynum and Harrison Smith are probably gone after this year. So you're going to have to look to fill some important roles in different places of need. I've been in favor with Wes, and I think you're on board with it now. There's nothing personal against Garrett Bradbury. I think he's been a fine, serviceable center, but overwhelmingly, the more that we talk about him, what will he be remembered for when he leaves Minnesota? It's getting pancaked on his butt a couple of times a year by the bigger guys, and that's a credit to teams like the Giants and the Seahawks who have just this crazy good defensive line. They've got some really good players on that line in Seattle, so I understand that, Donkey. It sucks, man. I hate picking on him because I like him and he's a nice dude. Andrew says I really want to pay Bynum. I wouldn't hate it. And thank you. I think the franchise tag is the right way to go too. Yeah, I think he gets guaranteed money that way. 40 to 45 guaranteed $1 million for 1 year. I mean, you can't really beat that. We'll see what happens afterwards. But anyways, I'm talking a lot. My donkey goes to Stephon Gilmore. I like him. I know that he was nursing a hamstring. Maybe he's not 100%, but it really sucks, and it's a hard task to ask you to guard DK Metcalf, but gave up a touchdown yesterday and had a couple penalties. Didn't like that. Not his best game in a Vikings uniform, and I hope that's not a sign of things to come because that's not good in the next coming weeks. Here we go. I like that. That man says, I think if he offered Sam a multi-year deal, he would take a discount. I don't know about a big discount. I think big is the word. I think he would take a slight discount if he was offered to play here because I've said it on the show before, maybe a month ago in an interview after one of the wins. You can tell in his voice, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here, but he says there's nowhere else I'd rather be than with this team right here, right now. And I know he loves Kevin O'Connell because he's unlocked this part of him, but big discount, I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to sign for like $35 a year. That'd be a little on the low end.
Well, you got Sam, you got Aaron Jones, you got Cam Bynum, you got a couple guys you got to bring back, and I know Minnesota does have some salary cap, but how far can you stretch it, with these players at kind of important positions? Because let's be honest, watching the Vikings defense without Harrison Smith wasn't that great.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite game this year. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. It wasn't my favorite. Even in year 14 for him now, he's still very, very good. I absolutely, yes, I have purple bias. I absolutely think he's a Hall of Fame player. Maybe he's not first ballot, but my God, you took him out of the game yesterday, and after the Vikings said, "Hey, we're going to stop the run," Seattle and Geno Smith could pass the ball pretty well. Geno had 31 completions for 314 yards, and he threw 3 touchdowns. So,
and JSN is going to be a huge star in this league if he isn't already.
If Tyler Lockett was Tyler Lockett from 2018 to 2019, this would be the best 3-headed monster in the league at the receiver position. I love, and this is like, again, like I said earlier, I'm bragging on myself for learning this. Learning what different body types and what different receivers do. DK Metcalf is a defensive end / outside linebacker playing receiver. Like, don't make any mistake about it. The dude's massive.
Right.
JSN is he's kind of like their Justin Jefferson. He can do pretty much anything you want him to do. Very versatile player. I still like Tyler Lockett got a penalty in his favor yesterday, and he had only 2 or 3 plays, but he still can make a move he would be, and I'm comparing him to Vikings players, he would be kind of their Adam Thielen of the year. He was damn good back in his prime.
I did not realize that Jordan Addison talked that much smack on the field.
Oh man, this team they were chippy yesterday. You could tell Addison and Jefferson running their mouth a lot, and then I saw Byron Murphy. I guess maybe it's division rivals because since he used to play in Arizona, but Byron Murphy was talking a lot of shit yesterday. So that was a lot of fun to catch, like the half a second when you could say like, oh no, they're jawing at each other. That's pretty cool.
My apologies earlier. My nephew swung by and picked up all the presents because I'm going to my sister's for the holidays on Wednesday, and he picked them all up and bring them on over there, so I don't gotta haul them over there with my bum leg on Wednesday.
Shout out to your nephew. I understand that too, man. For the last year, until I had to pretty much knock the rust off of it, literally and figuratively. My hip has been killing me, and not being able to like bend down because my leg had to be pretty much straight, but I couldn't bend over very far to put my shoe on. That's why I can't talk too much about Stephon Gilmore. I understand leg pain and all of that. It incapacitated me, and I'm not a pro athlete, so I'm sure it's worse for him. Andrew says, I've been texting my brother bench Gilmore every game for weeks. I don't know if you have a better option. I don't think you do. I don't know. I don't know if you trust
And it's Minnesota's situation with cornerbacks. They've been having to bring in these established veterans because the guys they've been drafting have just not had the opportunity to become what they want them to be. And I don't know if you were watching the Cowboys game, but did you see when Andrew Booth went in? They just started picking on him immediately.
I remember earlier in the year that happened, and it made me feel terrible for him. I had to get up early today, so I didn't even pay attention to that Cowboys game, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
But yeah, that secondary is going to be another position, another area where Minnesota might have to spend a lot of draft pick capital or cash in free agency to try to have someone there to do something. Because that whole area right there is not good. Not good at all.
Cap table for Spot Track Vikings 2025. I know we've done this before, but I did not memorize this, so I'm going to look up on Spot Track here. 2025 cap table, cap space. Holy shit! Okay, $78 million. That is a ton.
Yeah, they got cash to throw around.
They definitely can keep Darnold around with that, and then some. So we'll see. That's not bad. 21st dead cap in 2025 is only $5 million. That's chump change. Nice. So yeah, they've got $78 million to play around with, and that's not including if they get rid of some players in the offseason that could free it up. I don't know who that would be. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying it's always a possibility.
And I believe that salary cap figure does include Harrison Smith's current salary if he were to play in 2025.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he comes back? We've been saying one more year for like 3 years. Wouldn't that be crazy?
And every year I keep thinking, oh, we're going to see the drop-off this year, and not really.
No, not really. I think it's been as slight a decline as you could tell because I can't really see – I haven't seen him get absolutely toasted, and if he has, it hasn't been like multiple games in a row. That's a good point, Andrew. He said that's why I think we can pay Bynum. It all depends. You have to pick your poison. That's the beauty of the salary cap league. You can't just go out and do the New York Yankees thing where you buy all the players you want. They're going to have to get better at some spots. And the other, here's the second biggest thing, past the Sam Darnold stuff. The second biggest thing for the offseason is, does Brian Flores stay? I hope that he does. I have a feeling that he will. Maybe give it one more go like Ben Johnson did last year going into this season for the Lions. I don't think he's going to get a call for a head coaching job yet because he still has that lawsuit stuff going on. But if Brian Flores will stay one more year, you get 3 years with him, I don't think you could be any more grateful as a Viking fan to run it back. You'll have a bunch of these players that you got now that you know can work, which is funny. Let me go on a tangent a little bit. Colin Cowherd has been saying a lot, all the praise in the world about Darnold, but he said it again today, and it really bothered me. He's like, it's not like Minnesota has a great roster. And I stopped, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I think he's referring to the defense because there's not a guy on the defense that's a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett, or back in his day, a Jalen Ramsey, We
Yeah,
don't
if you're looking
have.
for a group of names, Minnesota doesn't have that group of names.
There's not the name star power. Who's the linebacker? Fred Warner from San Francisco. You don't have a Fred Warner on this team. The most recognizable name on the defense is Harrison Smith, and he's like 34 years old. I understand, but they got the highest end of B plus players you could get in free agency, and they didn't just grab one; they grabbed like three. With Van Ginkel, Cashman, and now.
That is one thing I really love is that the Vikings don't. They're entering next year and they have zero need for a pass rusher.
Oh, thank God.
They are set.
Wasn't that the biggest worry this year? We're like, we're going to lose to Neil Hunter. We're going to suck.
I went this whole offseason. I don't know what we're going to do with pass rushers. We don't have any. And then they're all here, and they're going to be here a while, so I'm okay with all that.
Kathy is one of our longtime favorite fans here. Thank you so much, Kathy.
And that first question is so hard to talk about because the NFL does not have full-time officials, so for them, I mean, what are they going to do? Take these players, these referees that are, they have a very unique skill set and punish them by holding them off games or docking their paychecks when they're doing this a couple times a year? It's a really hard thing to do.
There's an answer to this, but they still haven't implemented them, which is shame on the NFL. They make $20 billion a year. They can afford to pay these guys. Get full-time referees. Just make it a thing. Make them and have a rotation of staff, much like you would a restaurant. Well, I need somebody for the opening shift, and I need somebody to close. You need to have a full staff of referees. You need full-time paid referees. It is very hard. As much as we poo-poo on these referees, because there are some egregious calls they make or don't make, it is a hard job. I don't know the first thing about NFL reffing. I don't know a tenth of the playbook like they do, so I understand that part, but they won't suffer consequences because Adam's point, they're not full-time, and the need for them is so bad. The demand outweighs the supply on this, and it's not going to happen until they make them full-time.
Right.
And your second question, will there be any chance for the Vikings to rest starters before the playoffs? The answer is no.
Probably not.
Even if they lose this week to Green Bay and they're out of the 1 seed in contention, you still want to get the best seeding possible. And I understand they probably have got that set to lock up the 5 seed regardless.
Have you taken a look at the playoff scenario lately?
It's not good for us right now because we lost to this team earlier in the year. But yes,
I was going to say you don't want to go to Atlanta?
I don't want us to go to L.A., and I have a feeling that might be the case. But yes,
isn't Atlanta in the 4 right now?
They might be. The last time I looked was last week, so you're probably correct. Yeah, Atlanta would pose a different threat, being that Michael Penix Jr. has been named the starter there outside of Kirk Cousins, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
And aside from one bad red zone interception, I thought he played pretty well against the Giants, but then again, it's the Giants.
So the Rams are 9-6, the Falcons are 8-7. Much rather would go to Atlanta. I do not like the Buccaneers team. They are feisty. Something about Baker Mayfield having a chip on his shoulder for life.
And do you really want Garrett Bradbury trying to stop Vita Vea?
No, I don't. No, I don't like that whatsoever. Remember, this is the same Buccaneers team in the last 2 years. They went and they beat Philadelphia in the playoffs. They played with the Lions into what? Did they play in overtime with them? Or it came down to like the last play?
I know that was a real close one.
They've beaten not only the Lions this year, they've also beaten the Eagles again. They might be 8-7. Tampa Bay isn't a bitch. They're nobody's rollover, and you'll have to go play in their house. So I don't like that matchup at all. Mainly for the reason you mentioned, that defensive line makes me scared. Will there be any chance to rest starters? So here's the deal, Kathy. Let's say they win Sunday. Sunday's a tall order because they host their final home game. They're hosting the Packers. This will be a much tougher game than earlier in the year because the Packers are kind of rolling, and it's a division game.
And it was moved to late afternoon. If you guys didn't see that, it's not a noon game anymore.
It's not a noon kickoff. It's moved to 3:25 Central, 4:25 Eastern. So it's going to be the same window of time as this game was yesterday. But even if they win Sunday, they still have to beat Detroit next week. So you're not going to rest starters if the 1 seed is on the line. So no, they're just going to keep rolling. What sucks here and what I want, obviously, and this is just my opinion, I want the Vikings to lose before they get to the postseason because they're on an 8-game winning streak right now, and I don't like that for this team, especially if they have a bye. That scares the shit out of me because you're going to get a wild card winner coming to your house, and they've already proven they can win a postseason game. But you got to fight for that 1 seed. You saw the winner whiteout game. This game is that home stadium for the Vikings at US Bank is unreal. And I can't imagine they get a 1 seed and they're already in the divisional round. Do you know how crazy that place is going to be? They haven't hosted a divisional round game, I don't think, since Brett Favre was the quarterback. So, no,
So
I'm
the
sorry.
Eagles aren't officially out of the number 1 seed race yet, but that loss to Washington was big.
Yeah, I think head to head, the Vikings have beat better teams than them. I don't want to quote me on that, but I think if they went out, the Vikings went out, they would get the 1 seed, and that'd be interesting because the whole year it's been Detroit in the driver's seat.
So I was driving home Sunday for the early games, and I was listening to the games on the radio, and boy, the Bears sounded really bad. The Lions were just tearing them up.
They did also do like a trick play where Jared Goff fake stumbled, and there's a theory out there from like, I don't know if it's Kyle Brandt or Peter Schrager or whoever put it out. Somebody, one of the big personalities put it out, was like, was this Ben Johnson kind of auditioning to take that job to be like, not only will I kick your ass, I'll also do something that we absolutely don't have to do. They should not have opened that so recently at like week 16 in the season. You got to save that for the playoffs.
Right.
I don't know why they did that play. They're Detroit. They can do whatever they want. They're the 1 seed right now, but
So the Bears have not won a game all season on the road. The Giants have not won a game all season at home. Can we make that happen? Make that game happen?
the Bears haven't won a game since their dumbass corner was talking shit to the Washington fans and then tipped the pass that ended up losing them the game. Think about that, guys and girls. They haven't won a game. They've lost like 8 in a row. The Vikings haven't lost since week 7.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's crazy. I thought them winning 5 to start the season and then losing 2 and winning 5 more, I thought that was an accomplishment in itself. And then they went and won 3 more after that. The three-peat, the back-to-back-to-back away and then home, I was like, man, if they come out of that 5-1, I'll be happy. Not only did they win all those, they just won another one. So, man, this team's doing all the right things. We just gotta pray that the injury bug doesn't strike something crazy coming up. This is tough, man. Yesterday's game against Seattle in Seattle was the easiest of the last 3 games of the season. I think it progressively gets harder. The Packers are no joke. Respect to that team, that coach, that quarterback. They are very young and they're feisty. And they showed last year they'll go into a home or an away playoff game and they'll kick the dog shit out of a team because they
And
can.
I'm pretty sure Green Bay has not secured a playoff spot yet officially.
Officially, they have not. The only teams in the NFC that have claimed a spot officially are the Lions, Eagles, and the Vikings. AFC is a lot more locked up. In the hunt right now for the NFC, at the 3 spot currently, the Rams, 4 the Falcons, 6 the Packers, and 7 the Commanders.
When I was writing in my article about the Commanders, they are a sneaky team. They could climb up past the Packers if they do things right.
They've got to win out. Packers would have to slip up. Right now, interesting to your other point, Adam, the 4 would host the 5, so the Falcons would host the Vikings. I love that matchup. Right now, the Buccaneers are right on the bubble at number 8 out of the top 7 for the NFC, and they have a 52% chance currently. The Falcons are in the 4, and they currently have a 55% chance.
Wow.
So it's neck and neck. They're both 8 and 7 in the NFC South. Right now, Atlanta holds the tiebreaker. I think they swept the Bucs this year, but let's look. Now that we're here, I want to see the Buccaneers' schedule for this year. Who do they have left? They're hosting the Panthers and they're hosting the Saints. They could absolutely win the South. Now let's look at the Falcons.
I also don't think people should sleep on the Panthers the way they have. I know there have been a lot of Panthers jokes this year, but they have kind of figured it out a little bit here at the end of the season. They're looking pretty good.
Yeah, the benching of Bryce Young turned into be a blessing because he's looked a lot better. Oh, yeah, I've got the Bucs winning the South. The Falcons are going to the Commanders this weekend. I don't see that they're – and they flexed that to primetime. That was a good move by the NFL Network. No chance I think the Falcons beat the Commanders this weekend.
All right, so I got a non-Vikings question for you.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on NFL Red Zone having ads now?
I'm going to be honest, Adam. I'm the last person you should ask. I am not. I'm probably one of 5 people on the planet who love the NFL that has never watched Red Zone once.
Because, boy, a lot of people are really upset about that.
So I understand that it's a lot of big plays and highlights, basically keeping you up to date, kind of like a news station. Hey, this is going on here. Hey, I understand the concept. Never watched it a day in my life. This is how I can like brag on myself like it's some kind of feat. I am strictly a Vikings fan at heart, and I only watch their game or if there's a game that I'm interested in. So I don't know. So it was ad free before. Now what? It just pauses like YouTube and plays for 30 seconds.
It'll still show like every game in the little boxes, but there'll be a box with an ad in it. I don't think it's a big deal.
Oh, so it doesn't completely take away your content. It just takes up a portion of the screen that it's offering.
It will do it if like all the games are on break or something like that, but otherwise I don't think it's like invasive or anything. It's just people not liking change, I think.
I get it. You've heard me bitch about rules on here. I was bitching about the hip drop tackle rule before the season started, and it hasn't been affected once. So, yeah, I get that. That's funny. Red zone is dead zone for Andrew. That's hilarious. That is awesome.
Because they used to start out with, here's, what is it, 8 hours of commercial-free football?
Oh, yeah, that's where it is. Okay, that's where I heard that from. That's funny. That was a good
weekend. You didn't say it
field.
last week, and people were like, oh, no.
Oh, that's funny. Isn't it funny? It's like 8 hours straight of commercial-free football, and now you have 7
and he
hours.
doesn't even take a potty break during that.
Oh, here we go. They're
It's
just
amazing.
finding people for the hip drop tackles. That's good. Thank you, Lefty Lose. That's funny. Appreciate you commenting too. I don't know that I've seen you jump in here before, but that is dope that you're hanging out watching the show with us. Yeah, I was bitching about that, and I was also complaining. I thought the kickoff would make the NFL awesome this year, and it's just turned into they're just accepting the ball being at the 30. And I'm like, if I'm an offensive coordinator, if I'm a head coach at all, I'm like, no, don't do that. Make them field that. Make them. I would never just accept the 30. Remember back in our day, Adam, they started at the 20.
Right?
Oh, I want that to go. I want the offense to have to go a little further than 70 yards now. But I'm just being an old boomer.
But sports keep changing. I mean, I used to watch the NBA back in the day, and back then it was all about get to the rim, power in the paint, all this, and now you're watching an NBA game, and it is all three-pointers.
It's wild. I just saw an article with that where LeBron was quoted saying that we've got to do better. Like the ratings are taking a nosedive, and he's like, "Yeah, nobody plays defense anymore. Everybody's just shooting threes." So,
You're right.
have you seen our special teams kick it out of the end zone? That's funny.
And before the season started, I was saying the Vikings aren't going to take the ball out the end zone. They're going to boot it right through every opportunity they get.
Sure. Can we talk about this? This was last week, but I just want to mention it. Can we just talk about how smart and how dorky Jim Harbaugh is at football? That weird rule they exploited where I think if there's a penalty at the very end of a half or something that you get to have an
Oh, the free
unabated
kick?
a free kick, and if it goes through, you get basically a field goal without the defense getting a chance to block. How fucking smart do you have to be to have? And he said literally earlier in the week, he's like, one of my guys here said we're going to practice that. That's some Bill Belichick type shit because I remember hearing Edelman talk about it. We said we practiced some stupid rule I'd never heard of. It hadn't happened in however many years, and then that Sunday it happened in the game. Of course, Belichick's like, told you so. That's just big brain nerdy football stuff that I love. And fair catch, free kick. That's crazy. But you don't see it. That's why I'm such in shock. Why aren't more teams not doing that? Pretty cool.
Right.
To not have your kicker have to worry about a pass rush coming around and blocking it. I mean, you'd figure just
And
by
be able to
saying
get
it
that
out
big
loud.
run up and everything. I mean, wow.
Right. You'd figure with the way it's said out loud, like we just explained, you'd figure more people would try it. But they said that was the first time that had happened since what, the 70s or something? Like
Right.
something crazy like that. I just thought that was really cool, even though it was a week ago. Still fairly relevant. Before we get into stats, I want to talk about this because I kind of want to say my piece on it and move along. We've kind of dabbled on it the last few weeks because it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to pick on him. But I don't hear any of the Kirk Cousins apologists out there anymore, and I feel like this is such a sensitive topic. I have nothing against Kirk Cousins, a human. I will say, if I were in his position and I had a manager or an agent who could get me paid like he was paid, you all, like me and Kirk, would do the same thing, right? Hindsight is 20/20. I think he is massively overpaid for what he produced, even though he was a stat machine. And I'm going to say one thing that maybe it's a little harsh, but I'm just being objectively critical at the football watching position here that a lot of analysts and fans do. I see in Sam Darnold a grit and a win and a want to push the ball down the field when the moments get tight and you clutch your pearls. I never saw that kind of killer instinct with Kirk Cousins. There have been multiple instances, and I know this is like very game specific, situation specific, when the game's on the line and I've seen him check it down. And I'm like, brother, you got to chuck it up there and do that Pat Mahomes to Tyreek. F it, he's out there somewhere. You have Justin Jefferson, right?
It is so weird to see Sam Darnold in those situations and never have a feeling like, oh boy, we're in trouble.
I don't care if he loses. I don't care if he loses a playoff game and it's an interception and he tries to get it to Jefferson, but you have to try. And I get really sad for him because I don't know that another team's going to want to take this on unless he does the Russell Wilson thing which is very uncommon for him because he wants to get paid. They've moved on from him. They drafted Michael Penix. That whole situation was weird, but I guess Atlanta was smart to do that. But I think Minnesota absolutely made the right move here, obviously. He doesn't look the same. Maybe next year he'll look a little different. Maybe he's not done playing football. But, man, the money situation over there is ugly. And I sent it in a group because I saw it in like a meme format. He's getting paid however many millions of dollars this year per touchdown and like $11 million per interception, which is bananas because Sam Darnold's making $10 million on the year.
And we've already seen the reports from like Schefter and some of the others that Atlanta and Kirk Cousins are expected to part ways, which is amazing.
Immediately, because you got to think this is the same season where he went into Philadelphia and beat the current number 2 seed. Even though that's early in the year and anything can happen in September, they went into Philly and beat Philly, which is a big deal. Philly's a very good football team. And then against the Buccaneers, he had like a career night, 500 yards and like 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, he played like Superman. But that stretch of games where he had like 11 interceptions and no touchdowns was brutal enough where they said, hey, not only are we done, we're done for the year. Now the report came out immediately like they're cutting ties. They paid him $100+ million in the offseason. That's might be one of the worst deals we've seen in a long time.
And he will be a starter somewhere.
I think so.
The only question is where, and the other question is, will he say he wants to retire there?
Adam took a joke and made it too. Look, Adam might be a little more on the Kirk like fan wagon than I was. I came around at the end because I liked that Kevin O'Connell unlocked, and I felt for him with the Zimmer stuff not being appreciated. But I think he's been massively overpaid. The Vikings did it right this year, and you're seeing what can happen. This is why I don't think they'll make that same thing again. I don't want to say mistake because signing Sam Darnold wouldn't be a mistake. It's the money has to make sense for both. And I think they'll find a sweet spot in the middle that appeases both sides. But, man, I was shocked. Not only that they moved off of Kirk, but that they immediately said within 7 days, they're like, yeah, they're cutting ties at the end of the year. Like, he'll be a pre-June.
Yeah, that was surprising.
That was shocking. So if you hadn't heard that, wow. Atlanta moving on from Kirk is kind of a big deal.
And there are teams that he could fit in fairly well on, but I don't think any will have the amount of talent that either Minnesota or Atlanta even has.
Sorry, I'm reading you guys' comments here. I don't blame Cousins for Rick Spielman not be able to draft very well. Yeah, you can't do that for them. And I saw a guy yesterday say, I saw Kirk Cousins win 13 games with a 31st ranked defense. Okay. 2 different teams. Like, there was somebody comparing this team with the 2017 team with Case Keenum. This is not your mom's 2017 Vikings, dude. This is a completely different team.
By the way, if you see Kyle Smith on Facebook commenting on anyone that's like, oh, the Vikings should have kept Case Keenum and paid him, he is brutal in those comments.
Yeah, I'm a savage. I am an absolute savage. I told one guy, I was like, you have the IQ of mustard or something like that. You're just stupid, dude. Don't say that. I have to. That's when you really fall back on that Colin Cowherd take that I have is take the guy's best year and worst year and throw them out. What is Case Keenum? He's a fucking backup. And I love Case Keenum. He had the most college yards from any college quarterback ever. He's a baller. But he's not one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the world to start on. Like, there's no chance. That was really weird. Looking back on it, would you have wanted to sign Case Keenum for what would he have gotten that year after Adam? $10 million for 2 years?
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Sure. Maybe. Because the big knock on that was, well, you paid Kirk, you couldn't sign defensive players. But when the defense goes from that 2017 caliber to that 2018 caliber where Mitch Trubisky and the Bears won the division. Yeah, I don't think it mattered if you had Case Keenum or Kirk Cousins there. Like neither one of those dudes were gonna MVP their way to a division title in the playoffs. So it is what it is. I'm dancing around the Kirk subject because I don't want to crap on him. He's a good dude. He did win a playoff game. It majority was underwhelming for his time here. But there were also some tensions in the building that I can't go without saying every time we bring him up. That relationship with Zimmer was toxic. I don't think Spielman was that good of a GM. It was tough. Welcome my dog for drinking water behind y'all so you can hear him drink loud as shit. Thank you, Bronx. He's like, oh, what?
And my cat just fell off my desk, and now I don't know where my phone went.
Oh, that's funny. Jim Harbaugh is winning me over, Andrew says. Used to hate him, but he's much better behaved. I think he's just a quirky guy. I think he's just a very odd dude. But every account I've ever heard from everyone that knows him is that he'll come straight up to you and be like, hey, you want to go throw a football? And take his players out on the practice field like day one meeting them. And then 30 minutes later, you've been throwing the football with Jim Harbaugh, and he's talking about schemes and old players, and I did this. He's like, and I watched this game with you in it. And like, he just seems like a fun dude to be around. Like, he reminds me a lot of Pete Carroll. I imagine he gives off big Pete Carroll energy.
Did you see J.J. McCarthy on social media campaigning for Kevin O'Connell to be Coach of the Year?
This is why I'll be in it. You think I'm a savage like Adam said in the comments now? If any of you motherfuckers keep saying to trade J.J. McCarthy, I'm going to take away your First Amendment rights. Shut up. Shut up right now. I'm deporting you to Canada, and I'm calling you a terrorist. Don't. Kevin O'Connell handpicked this kid to come out. He will be the future. Just relax and give it the Jordan Love. Just assume right now, everybody close your eyes and meditate with me. J.J. McCarthy, the starter for the Vikings in 2027. Just say it now. And if it happens to be 2026, cool.
And don't get me wrong, Sam Darnold is Kevin O'Connell's guy right now.
Of course he is.
No
But
question.
he's also J.J. McCarthy's guy. He's reposted every positive thing, anything the media and the Vikings have said about Sam Darnold this year. My favorite one was like, they're on this win streak. They're like 8-2. And J.J. McCarthy goes, Sam Darnold, really good at football. Like, just, I love that support from the kid who like, hey, we drafted you. We want you to be the future. But, hey, this guy's going to fill in for now. Plus, he's hurt. What the hell is J.J. McCarthy going to do right now other than support his guys? He's been absolutely just a fanatic on social media supporting Kevin O'Connell.
And when you watch this team like practicing celebrations and just having a good time, being a team in the locker room, talking each other up, it is a great feeling.
I got a comment from Sergio I got to put up here because I'm with you. Sergio says, I'm not saying the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl, but I'm just not talking that much shit about my Vikings mode. Sir, I'm working the Super Bowl with my job. Do you understand how badly I want them to go? Do you understand how badly I will call someone I have to know in this agency and say, you will put me at the Vikings hotel as a post where I will be working? I have a friend that works for the team. Nobody I know outside of maybe Adam or Kyle wants this team to go to the Super Bowl more than I do. And I've said it on record. I don't think they will because they always break my fucking heart. But God forbid they win the Super Bowl this year. Don't go on my social media. Don't call me or text me. I will change my voicemail until the start of the 2025 season. Every fucking day on Twitter and on Facebook, I will post 2024 Super Bowl champion Minnesota Vikings. Just wanted to remind you.
Where is the season Super Bowl again?
New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I will be driving down for work and working with my dog. I'm very excited about that. I'm with you, Sergio. Don't let them do it. I will be the most obnoxious, insufferable prick on social media.
You're going to go to the Kendrick Lamar concert?
Yes. Everything. I'm going to find Lizzo in the parade, and we're going to dance and twerk on each other.
There you go.
It's going to happen.
Have a good time.
Oh, man. I want them so badly to go, and what I want more than anything is I don't want the Chiefs to win, number one. I don't want Philly to win. Selfishly, I kind of like Detroit's story, so if they won, I wouldn't be upset, even though they are a division rival.
I would be okay with Buffalo winning.
I want it to be the Vikings versus Buffalo. I want it to be Minnesota Buffalo in the Super Bowl. Somebody's team that's lost 4 will finally get one. That's all I
That would be
want.
great.
And to be honest, the thought of having to scheme against Josh Allen scares the absolute shit out of me as a Vikings fan. But I also know this team can carve them up too. Like, we've got a good team. So
Yeah.
I think it would be entertaining. I think the over-under being at probably like, what, 56? I think you would go over in that game. I think easily it would be a 60-point Super Bowl. But we're way ahead right now. Thinking the Vikings are going to do anything at the moment, dude, they got to win these last 2 games before we can
Well,
talk.
I don't know how many of you guys read my work over on the Viking Age, but I did say that the Vikings would beat Seattle. And then I said they'd lose to Green Bay. I hope I'm wrong. But you
It's
never
possible.
know.
It's entirely
It's going to be a
possible.
tough game. It's going to be real tough.
I've seen this team do it all this year, though. If they don't get the 1 seed, they can still go on the road and beat any team they want. They just have to keep it together.
Well, I am in Michigan, so I don't really want to hear it from these people in Detroit anymore.
Right.
But they are having their best season ever, so kudos to them.
That is hilarious.
Well, Minnesota's screwing around and having a good time.
That's the best meme of the year. John Daly and Tiger Woods. Oh, my
And
goodness.
I'm seeing it, like, constantly now.
Yeah, they keep updating it with the wins because we've tied the Lions. It's like, it started at like 9-2, and then it just kept going for the last month. It's pretty funny. All right, let's get out of here, guys. Let's go down these stats, and we'll promote some stuff, and we will get on out of here. I'm going to type in some of these banners, if you will filibuster for just 20 seconds, and we'll talk some stats here soon.
Yeah, this Vikings game, I had a real issue on offense. I know that Justin Jefferson's a great target to have, and throwing him the ball 13 times is cool and all, but your next 2 targets having 8 and 5, I mean, that's Justin Jefferson getting as many as the next 2 guys. And honestly, I thought when TJ Hawkinson returned, he was going to be a bigger part of the offense. And so far, he hasn't really come back yet.
Correct.
If that's fair to say.
He hasn't had a breakout game, but he has been efficient enough to where he can be like the literal security blanket that they always say.
And
Well,
then
the tight
Josh
end-
Oliver had a couple good games, and he's been quiet since coming back from his injury. So,
Correct.
I mean, we got a couple guys on the Vikings here that aren't quite playing up to where you want them to be, but are still helping this team win in their own ways.
Well, I'm going to take a dig at another player who was on the Vikings last year, and he's not anymore. We have a 1,000-yard rusher this year. Weird how that works. You just need 69 yards a game to do that. Shout out to Aaron Jones. I think you're getting the very last part of the good parts of his career. I'd be okay with him coming back for 1 more season. He has been a gem for the locker room. He is a great player. He does stuff every week in the pass game as well. He did catch 3 balls, but shout out to him for hitting the 1,000-yard mark yet again in his career. Just wanted to make sure he got a highlight for that. Let's do some stats. Sam Darnold, 22 of 35, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Did take a few sacks. Good rating, good QBR, 246 yards. Sam Darnold, and I want this to be known. Remember the benchmark used to be forever, that Favre season where he had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions? Well, that was a 16-game season, and he is coming up to his 16th game as a Viking. He has 32 touchdowns. Sam Darnold will end the year with as many, if not more, touchdowns than Brett Favre had in that glorious 2009 season. I want you to wrap your brains around that.
I don't remember
Darnold,
if you and West said over or under, but I remember that before the season I asked you guys over under 30 touchdowns for Sam Darnold. I don't remember what you guys answered, but
I think on the high end I said either 26 to 28, that's a good season.
yeah.
But he's at 32 right now, and he'll absolutely go over 4,000 yards. He's at 3,776 right now. 11 interceptions is probably a little more than he wants, but he is, knock on wood, on a streak right now.
Well, some of those interceptions too were like Hail Mary kind of things where it didn't really end a game things. I don't count a lot of those.
3,776 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. He will end the year, I'm guessing, with 35 touchdowns for this team. And it's unreal. For him to be in the same breath, and that I understand there's an extra game, but as it stands, this would be the last game of the season if this was 2009 because there were only 16. That Vikings team only won 12 games. He's also won more games than Brett Favre did while he was here. I want you to understand that. That is a big deal, especially considering his career was like left for dead. So, shout out Sam Darnold. We like you here. Rushing, only 81 yards on the ground yesterday. Sam Darnold, 5 for 11. Cam Akers, 1 for 3. And Aaron Jones, 18 carries, 67 yards. No rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I was surprised at the balance. I thought that coming into this game, wasn't Aaron Jones on the injury report for Minnesota as like questionable? And then he comes into this game and Cam only gets 1 carry?
That was crazy. I like the dynamic between Cam Akers and Aaron Jones, and it was lopsided yesterday.
Very lopsided.
I like that. We've said this before, but they both have different running styles. I love Cam Akers. He seems like Isaiah Pacheco, just very fast, knees high, and just like I feel like if he runs into you, he will absolutely knock you on your ass. Aaron Jones is a little more finesse, and he can catch the ball. I like their dynamic, but to only give both running backs 19 carries between two of them, that's on the low end for us. But if
well,
they're
look over at Seattle. Seattle carried the ball even less.
Yeah, the Vikings stuffed them pretty well yesterday. Kenneth Walker was very scary, but only 8 carries for 31 yards. Vikings did a good job on stopping the run yesterday, which they have all season. I think statistically they're in the top 5 for run stoppage.
Which is, again, I say it every week, but that's kind of misleading because their Minnesota opponents tend to pass the ball a lot more than they run because they seem to be down a little bit, like in the middle, in late stages of the game. So it's a bit of a misleading stat.
Can we ask here? I haven't checked the comments in a second. I got 2 new ones. Let me see what they say. Kyle is scaring. Why am I scaring you right now, Andrew? That's hilarious. Go Saints. There, I said it. Hawk has made some critical third down. Yeah. He has a good security blanket, but he hasn't been like dominating, which is fine. Coming off an ACL, like I'd rather Jordan Addison and Jefferson get the catches anyways. But can we talk about the Seahawks? Do they have the best names? They have the best name roster in the NFL. Geno Smith sounds like an old Italian mobster. Kenneth Walker is like a strong, like solid American name. Kenny McIntosh flows off the tongue. Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's the coolest fucking name I've ever heard in my life. In Jigba.
Kenneth Walker sounds like a top shelf whiskey.
It does sound like a top shelf. That's pretty funny. Julian Love, that could be your heartthrob in a boy band. Zach Charbonnet. Who are these guys? DK Metcalf? Are you shitting me? Noah Fant? They have the best name roster in the NFL. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Find a better roster in the NFL of names. Tyler Lockett. Pharaoh Brown? What? Jake Bobo? I saw him get a catch yesterday. That was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you find a better roster full of names. That's awesome. That's the receiving. I went through all the receivers. Vikings receivers yesterday. Justin Jefferson, sir, have yourself a day. Chef's kiss. 10 of 13, 144 with 2 touchdowns. Absolute domination.
A lot of Vikings social media is throwing in the towel already on Jalen Nailor, saying he's not even worth keeping around. And I don't know. To me, he's made some mistakes, but I still feel he's done all right as like a Vikings wide receiver 4. What are you expecting from a person that low on the wide receiver chart, you know? What do you want?
Who are you talking about?
Jalen Nailor.
Oh, who cares? I don't care about that. In all reality, Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson are going to catch most of the balls there. The check down will be there with Jones, and then if you're lucky with the scheme, and I'm going to call it what it is. If there's busted coverage or somebody slips, Jalen Nailor or Trent Sherfield might get that. But even then, I would probably, if I'm Sam Darnold, look for like Josh Oliver. These are just reliable targets. And how many times are Nailor and Sherfield or Powell actually on the field in the receiving game? It's not a lot.
They were out there a little bit more often than you'd think against Seattle. I don't know what the plan is for rotating them in the future, but they seem to be trickling in a little bit more here and there.
Yeah. I don't care. If your biggest complaint as a Viking fan is being 13-2 and like Jalen Nailor doesn't get the ball a lot, fucking cry me a river, all right? That's gonna be okay. That's all right.
It's not that Jalen Nailor doesn't get the ball. It's that when he does have it come his way, it's like a dropped or, a play that doesn't quite work out the way they'd hoped. And I don't know, to me, if you're throwing the ball to your wide receiver 4 or 5 and, you know, something doesn't go the way you really want it to, you shouldn't be that disappointed.
I'm not too worried about it. That's probably the reason he's only getting one target. I mean, you get one chance to you drop. Hey, I'm not coming back to you. Sorry about it. Defensively, Blake Cashman led the way. There's some weird stat out there. I'll have to look on Vikes Verified. Shout out to you, man. What a great social media follow. Just a lot of informative stuff. I think they're at every game. Lots of good information if you want to follow them on Instagram. I don't know if they do Twitter as well, but stats when Blake Cashman plays for the Vikings and when they don't. This team is a completely different team. Same with Ivan Pace Jr. He should be coming back from IR maybe week 18. He should be ready to go. I don't know if they've activated him from that window yet. I'd have to double check. But, yeah, Blake Cashman led the way yesterday. Pass defense, tackle for loss, 12 total tackles. All total yesterday, there were 5 tackles for loss, 8 passes defended. I didn't know it was that many. 8 quarterback hits, which is really nice. Poor Geno Smith. He was already nursing a knee injury by the end of the game. Like, he looked pretty bad.
Well, Seattle came into that game with one of the worst defensive lines, and I really thought Minnesota was going to swarm and get to him quite a bit. And they didn't quite get there as often as I thought they would, but they still got pressures and challenged some passes and made some differences. So I guess I'm okay with it. I mean, you can't be upset with the outcome, right?
Right. Andrew Van Ginkel was a machine yesterday, too. 5 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 quarterback hits as well. Good Lord. Pretty sick. Pretty good day from him. Let's see. Interceptions. Dallas Turner, shout out. I didn't buy a J.J. McCarthy jersey, and I'm glad I didn't. I did buy a Dallas Turner jersey before the season started. Shout out to him. 1 interception. And Theo Jackson. Boy, was I happy to call your name out. And I called this interception before. Hey, it's the last drive. The pressure's on. You got to go down and at least get in field goal range. Sealed that one pretty quick. Geno was pissed on that throw.
So I'm willing to admit I have never seen Camp Rock. But that celebration was pretty cool.
Oh, yes, Camp Rock. I was like, what are we talking about? I feel like I've heard this. Yes. The Sellies they're making me feel old because a lot of these movies I've heard of in passing, but I've never watched. And then I realized, those are like slightly after my time when they came out. Those are like my little brother's era. And I'm like, shit. 10 years from now, I'm not going to know any of these celebrations. So, that's funny. Andrew says, I retract my donkey. That's hilarious. In my defense, I only had the PA audio feed in Kansas City. Oh, that's funny. It happens. Yeah, Blake Cashman's very good. I hope that this team is at full strength. All you can ask is the team to be at full strength when they get into the playoffs. No significant injuries, and, go from there. Ty Chandler had 1 for 20 on kick returns, no punt returns. Will Riker 2 of 2 and 3 of 3. Ryan motherfucking Wright, 6 punts, 300 yards punting yesterday. Good Lord. A long of 63 inside the 20, 4 for 4. So, why not? I mean, shit, that's cool. That's a damn good day from the punter. I know one of them that he ran down, I think it was like at the 5. He ran down and was like getting all swole. And I'm like, dude, be proud that you did your job. I would too. Like, I was laughing early on in my football watching career as like the special teams guy, and they make a tackle, and I'm like, oh, cool, you tackled somebody. It's like, no, this is their one chance to shine during the game, and they did a great job and flipped field position.
And he's had a couple of disappointing punts this season, so to put together a game like this, that had to feel good.
Absolutely good. That's a good point. Well, that's it. The Vikings are somehow 13-2. Like I said at the beginning of the show, the Vegas win total for the Vikings this year was 6.5. I put them at 7 or 8 at best, so I was definitely one of the negative Nancys. I'm so pumped for this team. There's something special going on. We have a very tall task ahead. The team does. Last home game this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Hosting the Packers, last 2 games of the year, division games, 1 on the road, 1 at home. This is it. This is the cream of the crop right here. 3 teams in the NFC North that are all.
And we already know Minnesota's going to the postseason. We know they're going to be there.
Yeah, that's good. At least they're not fighting for their life. Like somehow Cincinnati's still in it. If they win out the last 2 weeks and the Colts lose to either the Giants or the Jaguars, Cincinnati gets in the postseason, which is unreal to think about.
Considering the way they started the season, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's really weird that that's possible. But yeah, pretty pumped, man. I really hope this team finishes out and gets the 1 seed. That'll be a story for the ages. What do you guys think? J.J. Watt had a good point on McAfee the other day, and I understand what he's saying. Kevin O'Connell will get nods for Coach of the Year this year, as he should. I think if Dan Campbell and the Lions win the North and get the 1 seed, he's definitely in contention. Andy Reid, yet again, his team only has 1 loss, and it's to Buffalo, who looks like a juggernaut. Do you think that Kevin O'Connell should be in consideration for Coach of the Year?
I don't think you can have the conversation without him in it.
I agree.
I mean, I understand if you don't vote for him or if he's not your top choice. I get it. But he's got to be in the conversation at least. And he should get some votes. I don't know if he'll win, but if he did, it would definitely be earned. That's for sure.
I think there's a good case for Mike Tomlin taking a risk with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and them having the chance to win that division. They're going to the playoffs.
So Ivan Pace is back at practice.
Nice.
I know we talked about that, so maybe he will be back soon.
We'll see. We'll be checking that injury report here shortly. The Packers do play tonight. They are hosting the Saints here very shortly. So there's a shorter week for them, which is a good advantage for the Vikings. Slight edge. So that's cool.
So this offseason is going to be interesting. Minnesota has had this weird air about them lately. Like, a lot of players want to come play at Minnesota because of the facilities and some of the talent there. And now Minnesota's got some of those winning, traditions here, and they've got a great coaching staff. And I think we're going to see a free agency period where players really want to come to Minnesota, and I love that.
Speaking of, Adam, this is in the same neighborhood of what you're talking. Isn't it funny that this coach didn't have a contract extension before the season? Look who's about to get fucking paid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kevin O'Connell's going to be secure. I think Quincy's secure, too. I think they're attached to the hip. So I thought that was funny. Somebody else mentioned that. But to your point, for my question, yeah, I think Kevin O'Connell's got to be in the conversation. Andy Reid certainly needs to be in there. Dan Campbell's done a good job.
And Kevin O'Connell's going to be a big reason that a lot of players do want to come to Minnesota. The things he's been able to accomplish with some of these quarterbacks has been amazing. And there's a part of me, too, that wonders, okay, Kevin O'Connell's had some time to work with Daniel Jones. Are we going to see a little different Daniel Jones maybe next season somewhere else?
I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt. It is. It's quarterback rehab. This is the same thing that happened with Sam in San Francisco. So I think seeing a place where there's not a lot of chaos, and I don't think Brian Daboll's a bad coach at all. I think they just drafted fucking terribly there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if the coordinators are bad. I know all the little things that you don't realize until after they're gone. Like, let's go to the 2017 season, right? You had Pat Shurmur at offensive coordinator. Terrible coach for the Giants. Great offensive coordinator. Case Keenum ended up being a high-end backup, comes in, wins a lot of games, right? Shit like that matters. And having Josh McCown here as the quarterback coach, well, he was Sam Darnold's teammate 7 years ago. That's crazy. He's very young. He can relate. Having those guys come in and help.
Some of those positional coaches, too, I mean, they don't get enough credit. Keenan McCardell has that entire team talking about how big he is to have around, and that's amazing.
Oh, I wanted to put this in there because Wes isn't here, but I told him to save that for the show later. He's always talking shit. I love Wes.
Constantly.
Josh Metellus has the sort of position flexibility that people think Travis Hunter has.
Wow.
I said, holy crap, save that for the show. I knew he said something, and I wanted to shout him out. Oh, man, I had to read through the text messages. Yeah, Josh Metellus what an underrated signing he's been. Shout out to him, man. He's a lot of fun.
I've absolutely loved that. But that's all I have for this week. Do you got anything else you want to throw out there?
I don't. Let's start plugging and get the hell out of here, man.
All right, you can check out my work over on the Viking Age. I put out some articles every week. Usually winners, losers. Last week I didn't do the referees and stuff because I was out of town. But I'll be back on that this week, I hope, because those are some of my most fun articles to do. I enjoy those quite a bit. But yeah, if you can go support me over there, maybe read an article every once in a while, I'd appreciate it. You can also check me out on social media at MNVikingZombie. This is streaming right now on my Twitch channel. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter X, Blue Sky.
Nice.
You know, all those ones that TikTok. If it's a social media, I'm probably there. So come on, add me on there and let's talk about something. Whether it's wrestling, football, horror movies, whatever. I'm down for any of it.
Yeah, I always want Adam to do. Adam's very not to give away too much of your personal life, but Adam works from home and he's a digital creator, and I always am rooting for you to get all the support and power behind you to do that. Go check out the Viking Age. Every time we have a show, I always click to get the numbers up. The format's good over there. It's easy to digest. It's quick to read.
I am extremely thankful to be able to work from home and earn enough money to not have to go and get a job outside of my home, and the fact I'm able to do what I like to do and support myself enough to get by. I mean, I'm not flourishing or anything, but it's enough for me to do what I want to do, and I appreciate that. So thank you to everyone who's allowing me to do that.
I like it, man. I'm excited for you. I hope that this continues, and I'm pumped for it, man. I'm glad to be your friend, and I'm certainly happy that things at the Viking Age have been going well, and I hope they only continue to trend upward. Go check out the Viking Age, guys. Not just plugging it because he's one of our hosts. Does good work. It's fun stuff over there. Kyle West is not here, but you can follow him at Vaguely Square. I think he likes.
Well, you have a huge problem with that word vaguely.
I do. Is it wrong again? Well, let me change
swap
it.
around the U and the G, and you're good to go. Actually, and the L and the E.
Oh my God! See, this is my North Carolina education, guys. Public education at its finest, man.
There we go.
That word sucks. Vaguely, it looks like Vaguli. Vaguli Square. We're just hey, let's do that from now. Let's do the Key and Peele shit where we're like Vaguli Square, Vaguely Square for Kyle West. You guys roast me in the comments for not being able to spell a common word. Yeah, support him. He's got good photography work too. I know if you go to kylewest84.picfair.com, you can look at a lot of his photography work.
And you just pulled that off the top of your head. Good job.
Hey, I try to make up for that horrible spelling job that I did. I've never been to Iowa. I'm hopeful to take a tour of every state one day. But man, it is so beautiful in the fall time, and Kyle does a great job because he's a good photographer at capturing that. And a lot of the stuff in his town, he's got a very small town, very rustic feel. So go check out.
I filled up with gas in Iowa twice. That's about it, and then I just kept driving.
Are you coming to check on my shitty spelling? Yeah, that was terrible.
But yeah, Iowa ain't quite as exciting as people would like you to believe, I think.
Probably not. I imagine a lot of tractor pulls and corn and nothing. And that's fine. That's what they need out there. I'm not plugging anything of mine. I want everyone to like and subscribe, please. If you're still watching or you watch this later, please like Facebook, our page. Please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
And if they allow it, leave a review or
please
a comment or something. It would mean a lot. We would love for this to continue to grow. I mean, we've been doing this. What is this episode now? 590 or something like that?
590, yeah.
That's
insane.
a lot. That's wild. Insane. Way too many episodes. Why are we still doing this?
We like it and we enjoy it.
We do.
I do enjoy talking Vikings football, especially it's a lot. I put it on my Facebook. I don't know if you saw yesterday. I'm like, can every season of my Vikings fandom be like this? This is awesome. Is this what Patriots fans felt like every year? Yeah, that's fun.
I mean, this show has been through some really good seasons and some down, some really bad ones.
I'll tell you what was absolute fool's gold for me. I started we'll end the show here. I started my Vikings fandom really following the team in 2009. Obviously, the magical Brett Favre NFC Championship against the Saints. Then you think, oh, they're going to run it back. They called Favre back. You're like, all right, same thing. We're going to NFC Championship again. They went 6-10. Favre died on the field at TCF Bank Stadium. God said, fuck you, and collapsed the Metrodome. So it was like, all right, that was a sign. That wasn't the year. So I'm thinking, all right, they drafted a rookie quarterback who's athletic from Florida State. Man, we're going to be back in it. We're going to be 9-7, 10-6. We're going to go do it. 3-13 with Christian Ponder, and one of those wins came off of Carolina missing a field goal. They should have been 2-14. And then I think they started climbing back in. Oh, you had the Adrian Peterson year. That was fun. Couple of seasons with Teddy Bridgewater, Christian Ponder, Matt Castle.
Can we please get a celebrity boxing match between Brett Favre and Mark Gastineau?
What a weird beef to have so much later. I understand. I totally get his side of the conversation of being upset with that record and being like, well, you gave it away. Dude, They're not going to. You're literally crying over spilt milk. Like there's nothing you can do about it. They are never going to change that for you. I don't understand the point. If there was a way to get it changed, sure, they're not going to change that.
No.
It's really odd. But I thought it was gangster to come straight up to him at like an event and be like, "Hey, you fucking suck. Why did you do that?" That was pretty
Right.
funny. You could tell Brett Favre was like, "Is he doing a bit right now? Is he serious?"
Yeah, it took him a second. But wow.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
With that
Good record.
Sack Exchange documentary coming out and all that, that whole story just took some major gas. And the more I learned about it, the more I heard about it, the more just kept shaking my head.
Instead of ending it on a bad note, because I was going to make a Favre and Adrian Peterson comment. Man, some of my former Vikings, I am not fans of.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be mentioning Adrian Peterson in this show. There's enough of that out there.
Yeah, that's bad. Some of my favorite Viking players of all time, they are not doing very well now. I will say, we'll end it with this. Adam, Kyle, I'm grateful for you guys. I love the show. I'm glad we're having another fun winning season as Viking fans. To everyone in the comments, it's a tough time of the year for me. 4 days from now will be the anniversary of my mother passed away, so I hate Christmas time now. But I will tell you this. Whether you celebrate Christmas, if you celebrate Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, just be careful. I'm not going to preach at you to celebrate anything, but I will say there's an uptick of drinking and driving, and I always try to go out of my way, especially around the holidays, to say on the show, we love you, we thank you for being here. Just take care of yourselves. If you need to reach out to someone, if you're sad, cool. But please be careful on the road. It's cold too, and it's shitty weather mostly everywhere in the U.S. as well. So if you can stay in, stay in. Avoid drinking and driving, and avoid drunk drivers. All right, be safe, everybody. But
So one last Viking-related question for you.
sure.
What was your thoughts on Sam Darnold needing to go over to the Vikings sideline to get that play when there was that headset failure?
I can't drop it. That's a heavy ass mic. Gangster, dude. Gangster. Kyle, I'll let Kyle West come on next week if he's available and talk about it. The way Kirk Cousins would not. Maybe
Because,
he would.
I didn't even realize at that point that there was a problem with communications for the Vikings at that point. I just thought Sam Darnold went over to get clarification on something, but
Correct.
turns out he couldn't hear anything.
I thought because he was close by, maybe he had ran to that particular sideline that he was getting help, but no, he's like, yeah, I can't hear shit. So that's good. That's a good awareness there, because there was a point yesterday where the Vikings were a little out of focus and a little shaky. They had to call a timeout early, and you're like, come on, guys, like you got to get set. By the time they got set, they were already 5 seconds behind, so they had to call a timeout. To have the awareness to do that before the shit was going to hit the fan time-wise, and to be able to get the play out, I think that's like 11 out of 10 awareness, and just shows like he's locked in, man. This is the best version of Sam Darnold you're going to get. So
Absolutely. That
I
was
love
a
it,
veteran, smart move.
very smart,
Just
man.
like taking that sack to keep the clock moving. So smart.
I yelled immediately. I was like, what are you doing? Oh, I know you did that. I stopped myself mid. I was like, I get it. I get it. That's cool.
My initial response was of that, too. I was like, are you just afraid to get hit? But then I sat and I thought, wait a minute. I know exactly what he did. That was great.
We had the same. It's funny. We probably did the same thing at the same exact time, and then realized what was happening. Like, oh, that's why you're smart at football. I'm not. Damn. Get it. I get
Before
it.
we go 2 hours, we should probably call this a show.
Thank you, everyone. Adam, Merry Christmas. Everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We love you.
And thank you to everyone joining us in chat. We love having you guys here, and hopefully you'll be back next week when we talk about the game against the Green Bay Packers. As usual, I will be in the show's Discord channel talking, and Mr. Smith will not be because he doesn't like you.
Dude, I'm too emotional during games. You guys don't want me. I'm such a negative. Ask Adam. I just say it's like I'm on a plane that I know is going to crash. I'm such a negative Nancy. I'm doing you all a favor. That's all.
But thanks again to everyone, and once again, stay classy, Minnesota.